Now, as we get started in SOLIDWORKS, let's head to File, New, and create a new blank part document just to create a start part for us. Because whenever I create a new document, you're going to see a folder here called Axes with my X, Y, and Z axes already in there, ready to use. Now, I've created those manually and then saved out my very own custom template file. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly, just so that we'll be on the same page. If you think you can do this on your own, feel free to give it a try, but it won't take but a minute for us to do. So first, let's go to our Features tab up here. Grab the front plane, Control-click on the top plane. Head over to the Reference Geometry tab, and click on Axis. That's going to put an axis at the intersection of the front plane and the top plane. You probably know that already. So we hit OK. We now have that axis, and that happens to be our x-axis. Next, we'll click the front plane, Control-click the right plane, come up and create another axis. Hit OK. This one happens to be our y-axis, so we'll just name it y. Finally, we'll grab the top plane and the right plane. We'll come to Reference Geometry, Axis, hit OK, and we'll call this one our Z-axis. I'll take each one of those things and hide it. Then click on X, Shift-click on Z, right-click on any one of them, Add to New Folder, and we'll rename that Axes. Now, as you know, if you've watched other CAD Junkie videos, there are lots of other more minor changes that I might make to this file in terms of unit settings and background colors and all that kind of stuff. But you can set that up on your own. Basically, now we have a start part set up. We can go to File, Save As, and then in the Save As type, we'll just drop that down and come down to Part Templates. That's going to bring you to your default templates directory. And there's something really weird about the way that SOLIDWORKS selects templates for you in the Dummy Novice dialog that I prefer to use. And that is that it's going to choose whichever template file is the lowest one alphabetically. The one that sorts first alphabetically in your list of templates is the one it's going to use. And there's no way of forcing it to use anything else. So if you want it to use your template by default, then you need to name it something that will sort alphabetically at the beginning of the list. I know that sounds crazy. It's a hack, but it works. So I name my template 00_ and then whatever I'm going to name it. That way I'll know that when I go to File, New, use the Novice dialog and hit Part and hit OK, it's going to use that template and not some other template. Another thing, though, is when I create an assembly and then create a new part in the context of an assembly, I want it to also use this template. To make it do that, we go to Tools, and then all the way down to Options. You couldn't see that, but there it is. Tools, Options. And then down to this one called Default Templates. There you'll find the Parts Default Template. Hit the little dot, dot, dot. You choose the template that you just saved and hit OK, and that way, when you create a new document in an assembly or you're importing a step file or anything like that, it's going to use that template by default. All right? So that's a good starting point. And actually, just for good measure, I actually do the same thing on assemblies, just so you know. So when I create a new assembly, you'll notice I have my axes there as well. You add them in exactly the same manner. You go File, Save As Assembly Templates, and once again, make sure that it's going to sort at the beginning of the list. Otherwise, it won't come up by default. All right, so without further ado, let's jump in.